We have books here for purchase that the Historical Society has produced. The Androscoggin County, history of Androscoggin County. One on the Native Americans, Alnavac, and then our Civil War booklet, Faces of the Civil War. We also have our box for contributions, so we encourage that. Thank you. Okay. But those of you who have not got the book about Edward Little yet, we will also have them available. Okay. To begin, it's Unknown Edward Little is the title of the talk. Edward Little, one would think would be well known locally because of the high school being named after him. Everyone might say that name every week at a minimum, and certainly all the kids would say it and their parents. But Edward Little had a lengthy career before he came to Danville. He came to Danville in 1826 at the age of 53. And so he had a prior career in Portland, Maine, and then earlier in Newburyport, Massachusetts. He was born in Newbury, Massachusetts. But we don't, I regretfully could not find much information about his childhood. I just had to start with his secondary education. But I'll get into that later. He was an important, extremely important figure for Lewis and Auburn's development. He was treated in old articles in the Lewiston Journal magazine section, but usually these articles mentioned or treated his founding of High Street Congregational Church, or his founding of, or the founding of Edward Little High School. And while he was very important with regard to the economic development of the community, not much was said about that. But I found, in fact, that he was a key figure in the early development with regard to infrastructure and with regard to the mills. Okay, he came, I think these local writers in the Journal magazine were simply relying upon the facilities that we had at the Historical Society. We have records of various companies and organizations, and they were relying on that material. Edward was born in 1773, 12th of March. Oh, you just had a birthday this month. It just occurred to me. You can do the calculation as to what his birthday is. He was born in Newbury, Massachusetts, son of Josiah Little, who was dear parent in the letters that he wrote telling about what was going on here in the community. Josiah was a wealthy investor in the shipping trade and in timberlands in Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire, as was his father, the grandfather, Moses Little. He was, Josiah became the most important person involved in the Pajutska Proprietors, which was the land company that owned much of the land in the Androscoggin Valley, going from Topsom, Brunswick, up through to the falls in Lewiston, and even extending to Green and Leeds. The company had, contested that they were actually had a grant to the Rumford Falls, but eventually the courts decided no. The 20-mile falls was the 20 miles up here at Lewiston. He was a wealthy individual. He was very important in politics of the community. He represented Newbury, Massachusetts in the state legislature for 25 years as an example of his, if not popularity, at least his influence. I'll review Edward's local career first and then go to the beginning. We'll start with the familiar and then work backwards. As I said, he came here in 1826 to manage his father's business affairs, including the collection of rents and the sale of land to people who were coming to settle here. There was an earlier time when Josiah would come and harass the settlers to ask them to pay their rents and essentially repurchase their land. They felt they already had purchased it, or at least they improved it, and they may have been squatters in Josiah's mind, but they felt that they had improved the land and they were entitled to it anyway. Well, we'll begin with the Edward Little house. Edward Little came in 1826, and by 1827 he was building his house. This house still exists at 217 Main Street in Auburn. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. Local diarist Andrew Giddings of Danville called it the mansion, as it clearly was. It was compared to the farmhouses that were in existence. This was very much a rural community, and the father, Josiah Little, preferred that Edward take one of the farms that he owned and live there. But Edward decided he was going to build his own house, and because he, as we shall see, had a large family, and also people who would come to conduct business would often stay overnight before they went back home the next day. The front portico was one of the issues that was mentioned in the letters. The father and Edward's brother Josiah thought that was extravagant. He really didn't need that. And the father would ask, well, how much is this all costing? But Edward wrote back, well, I really can't say because it's all mixed up with the other matters of maintaining the other farms that we own, and also the mills that we own, and so I can't say with regard to how many nails and how many boards, etc., were used. Also, the interior was probably considered extravagant, although that was not particularly mentioned in the letters. But I just note that this is what the interior hallway looks like, with a nice banister for the stairs and so on. Why do you need such an expansive hallway? I should say that this photo was taken at the signing, the initial signing of the books that occurred. And we have tonight Bob Grieshaber, who's the owner of this wonderful house, he's here to learn more about Edward Little, I guess. But he's been a great supporter of this project, and I need to recognize him for that. Okay, the house was located in Danville. It was located in Danville, not Auburn. Auburn did not exist yet. It was located in Danville on the road to Durham and Portland, as it was expressed. The towns of Danville, Minot, and Lewiston occupied the village on both sides of the river, known as Lewiston Falls. Let me help you figure out what's going on. Here are the falls. The river is coming down through here. Here are the falls. Here's the bridge across the river. So Edward Little's house is here on this road that goes down to Durham. And here is the Danville and Minot line. So here's Minot up here, and here's Danville down here. Remember, this is where the bridge is, very close to where the current Longwood Bridge is. So we had this line that divided this settlement. It was not only divided by the river with Lewiston over here and what was Minot and Danville over here, but it was divided by these two communities. And this, on this side of the river is Cumberland County, and the other side of the river is Lincoln County. And so Edward, in dealing with these, would have to travel to Wiscasset and then later to Bath, or he would have to travel to Portland.
New Gloucester
in
was
dealing
a
with
Hampshire.
it. Pardon me?
New Gloucester was a Hampshire, so
You could do
some
dealings in New Gloucester.
He could do it in New
Hampshire
Gloucester.
town.
There was a
Hampshire town.
a Hampshire town. Okay. He never talked to. Well, there were mentions of New Gloucester, but never in that connection. That's interesting. Okay. So ultimately, East Minot, I'm just kind of diverting here, East Minot became Auburn in 1842. And Edward Little is still living. He died in 1849. So he saw that happen. And then later on, Auburn, what then was Auburn, annexed this piece of Danville, where the Little Androscoggin River is here, and then later on annexed the rest of Danville. Okay, any questions about what's going on there in terms of, so, that's interesting that he was constantly talking about going down to Portland, and he was also, well, he also was a judge. He was although it was a judge in the sense that county commissioners are judges. And so he had meetings in Portland there. I won't go into that, and later you can ask me about that if you wish. Okay, so we have that interesting geographical kind of situation. Okay, of course, Edward Little is best known for Edward Little High School, But it was only after his father's death in 1830 that Edward had the means by which he could support this new enterprise, or to contribute to this new enterprise. After his father's death, he inherited a considerable amount of land and money, and he was able to establish, through an act of the legislature, the Lewiston Falls Academy, which was a private school. And he figured if a community is going to amount to anything, they should have a means of secondary education. In the mid-1830s, which was when this happened, we had the Hebron Academy 15 miles away to the west, and Monmouth Academy to the east, and so he felt we need something here in Danville, and so he established the Lewiston Falls Academy, and he donated the land bordering that little Androscoggin River to where Academy Street and Main Street are now. That's why it's called Academy Street.
Is that building still there?
No. It was replaced several times, really. No, this was the original building.
Yeah.
But then there were several other iterations, additions, if you, I don't have them here, but in our so-called little museum, there's a whole array of pictures concerning the various iterations of Edward Little High School.
Does any part of that building still exist,
Oh,
or was it torn down
no,
completely?
it was complete, well, eventually all the buildings burned. And they had to construct anew in that same location.
Where Great Falls